So as we covered yesterday, does not look like Bernie Sanders is getting out of the Democratic primary anytime soon, much to the despair of the Democratic establishment. The latest sign that he plans on staying in for quite a while came yesterday when he indicated he would, in fact, participate in the next debate that is set to occur in April. So he's staying in. And look, I think it makes a lot of sense for him to stay in, especially in this moment where Democratic establishment isn't going to give him any sort of real power, institutional power, in terms of formulating the coronavirus response. So what he's doing is effectively garnering his movement, leveraging his movement to try to push for a more pro-worker, more aggressive stance in terms of this coronavirus stimulus. Also using his list to raise money for relief organizations that desperately need that cash during this time, and is essentially retooling his campaign to focus on pushing a pro-worker response and, and making sure to hold industry account at the same time.
Right. And one of the things that his aides have kind of been leaking out there is they're like, look, I mean, the Biden campaign is not stepping up to the plate. They're not showing competent leadership in this crisis. And so the Bernie campaign is essentially what they're trying to do is push the Biden campaign to do something and actually rise to the occasion. Because, I mean, you can just see the vacuum in which it was perfect, right, with the live stream. On the live streaming thing, like the Bernie campaign had it up and running in like 2 days. And then
with multiple guests, musical guests, and experts in the squad.
Like, what do we need to do? Download Zoom? Do I need to tell the Biden campaign how to do that? And yet they couldn't get it up and running. They was like, oh, is this thing on? All of that. Then disastrous, the teleprompter, live discussion. The entire thing has just demonstrated that both on the response front, but be on the policy front. What has the Joe Biden campaign proposed that hasn't already been done by the Trump administration? Seriously, nothing really. And in terms of the response bill, where was his leadership? Where are his briefings? He says he's getting an hour and a half worth of briefings every day on the coronavirus. What does that mean? From what? Hearing what? What are your solutions to the crisis? What are your counter proposals? That's how you should be acting right now.
Yeah, agreed. We talked to Megan Day yesterday, and she was basically making the case for exactly this approach and saying, look, Bernie Sanders is effectively the leader of a sort of workers' party on the left, right? And so his best role during this time is to marshal those resources to aggressively push for his solutions and to continue to sort of, use the technological capabilities that he has in order to bring supportive voices, leaders of labor, medical experts he's spoken with to continue to educate people. And I think, as you point out rightly, there's a massive vacuum of leadership on the Democratic side. I mean, Nancy and Chuck have certainly not stepped up to the plate, right? And Joe Biden, it's been pathetic what we've gotten from him. I mean, first he completely vanishes. Then when he does come out, it's like, complete disaster, hardly confidence inspiring. So the left in particular, but the entire Democratic Party really needs someone to be a clear voice in this. And right now, Bernie Sanders is the person who has stepped up to meet that challenge as best as he possibly can.
I think that's right. And one of the interesting things is you have continue to see this complete leadership vacuum on the left. And people ask me all the time, like, why do you even care? And I'm like, because when left and right fight over things, it pushes people. Right. Because it pushes you and bubbles up the interest of something. And to try and at least get people who are in the establishment in order to respond, at least cursorily, pay lip service, something. Lip service is better than no service. That's how change happens in D.C. And you see that with the Biden campaign, which is, I firmly believe that if Bernie and the campaign had just stepped out, it might be worse. It actually might be worse for where we are right now because it wouldn't be any legitimate voices supposedly in his own party who are even saying, hey, man, you got to step up to the plate here. Because everybody else in D.C. is running cover for Joe Biden. He's MIA from any of the discussions. He's MIA from the broader response. He's kind of just sitting in his home in Delaware doing these odd TV hits saying, oh, Trump is a bad man. And what's going on is we got to protect workers and not bail out corporations and all. It's like, what? What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Do you even know what a stock buyback is, Joe?
There's no specifics.
Well, I mean, probably, because you probably helped get them passed in the past. But it's like, these are the types of things that there's no leadership from him whatsoever on what a potential response would actually look like?
And I saw David Axelrod tweet upon this news that Bernie plans to stay in for the debate. He just quote tweeted and said, really? Like, he can't believe the audacity of Bernie to dare to stay in and debate Joe Biden again. Like, that, we need that debate. I mean, we need that democratic process right now. We need our leaders and purported leaders to be pushed on these issues. I don't see how you can object to that. I mean, how can you possibly think that there's something wrong or outrageous about that? And they're so hypocritical, because these are the same people who a week ago were pushing for these primaries that happened last Tuesday to go forward in spite of the health risks, in spite of the CDC guidance that said that you should not have people gathering in these numbers. They're like, we must move forward with democracy. And as soon as that happens and Joe Biden cleans up, then they're like, okay, now we got to just shut it all down. We can't have any more democracy. That was the right amount of democracy. No more democracy here going forward. There aren't even primaries for a few weeks. So this idea that like Bernie is forcing people to go out and vote. No, you can pass mail-in ballot. There's a lot of things you can do. And they didn't seem terribly concerned about it last week when, you know, elderly people in Florida and Arizona in particular were having to congregate in long lines in like nursing homes, et cetera, to be able to cast their ballots.
To add to that, by the way, Biden was out there, I can't remember which network he was on when he said this, and they asked him, do you think the Democratic convention should continue? And he said, yes. I can't think of anything more irresponsible.
Wow.
He's like, yeah, we should have a process. We have a process. We can't let these things get out of place. It's
wow.
like, what? Like, and especially if you're the nominee, you can give a speech via satellite.
Absolutely.
You don't need to do anything. I mean, come on. We don't need to have a convention. Nobody needs to have a convention.
But you know why the conventions are so important to them? Because this is where
it's
like
the coronation.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but this is like donors get all kinds of special access, and this is like their week, and they get like special, you know, special goodies and special seats and special food. I mean, all it's just like a celebration of donors, basically, is what a convention really is. And so, yeah, he doesn't want to disappoint his people and have them not get their perks.
There you go.
There you go. A lot more for you after this.